Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here. This is the City Nature Challenge kickoff event for 2021. My name is Jade Marks. I'm the Science Communication Manager for the Museum of Natural History, and I'm joined here today by my colleague Justin Schell from the Shapiro Design Lab and two wonderful presenters, Sean Reynolds and Karen Alofs, who are going to share a little bit of information about why community science is so important. But before we get started, I have a couple housekeeping things. First of all, this is a webinar. It's being recorded, so you'll have a chance to view it later. But none of the participants' cameras are going to be on that screen. So if you have any concerns about privacy, do not worry. But it's interactive, so we hope that you'll introduce yourselves in the chat, share some questions and comments about community science and the City Nature Challenge as we get going. You can also raise your hand if you'd like to be unmuted and ask questions. So, as I mentioned earlier, we have two guest speakers today, Sean Reynolds, who is the Urban Trees Initiative Coordinator for the City of Ann Arbor, and Karen Alofs, an Associate Professor from the School for the Environment and Sustainability. But before we get there, we're going to start off with some background information about the City's Nature Challenge itself, as well as how you can get involved. So what is the City Nature Challenge? Most basically, the City Nature Challenge is a race to document life on Earth using the iNaturalist platform. So iNaturalist.org is the website. You can access it through the QR code on your screen, or you can go to the App Store on your phone and download the app for free. Most folks will probably be participating through the app, but we'll walk through how to use both the app and the website a little bit later. The City Nature Challenge began as a friendly competition between the cities of Los Angeles and San Francisco in 2016, but it was actually so much fun that it expanded and grew in 2017 to encompass much of the United States. And in 2018, it actually went global. Over the past 4 years, the City Nature Challenge has grown over 15 times. And last year, there were actually 244 cities participating. We even got a place in Antarctica one year. So this is really bringing together the global community to learn more about life on Earth and biodiversity. So out of these, this incredible amount of participation came some pretty impressive numbers here. Last year, there were over 40,000 people who participated in the City Nature Challenge, making over 800,000 observations. So by observations, I simply mean photographs of living things in different urban areas. Of those observations, there were about 30,000 species, and many of which were endangered, threatened, or rare. So these are pretty big numbers. And Ann Arbor did have a significant contribution. We had over 1,700 observations in 2020 alone. Personally, I think we can beat that number this year. So the City Nature Challenge takes place in two parts. There's the observation period, which starts next week, April 30th through May 3rd. And this is where folks go out and take pictures or perhaps sound recordings. That's another option. If you think about the really vociferous frogs and toads that are coming out right now, you might not get a chance to spot them, but boy, you can hear them. So this is the observation period, is the documentation part. All living things we can find, get recorded in iNaturalist. And the cool thing about this observation period is it doesn't matter if you actually know what that plant or animal is. There's time for that a little bit later. which brings us to part 2, the identification period. So this starts 4 days after the observation period, and it's where we make all of those observations count, so to speak. So those plants and animals and fungi and insects all need to be identified and then verified to achieve what iNaturalist refers to as, quote, research grade. This means that the observation has been identified to the species level, and at least 2 people agree on it. Think of it kind of like proofreading, but for photographs, or maybe unlocking a new level in your favorite video game. So the identification period is set aside so we can work as a team to verify all those observations. So this brings us to the big question, right? Why do we do the City Nature Challenge? Why do we Bioblitz or document biodiversity in the first place? And the first reason is really to connect people to their local nature. So it doesn't matter if you live in a really urban area like the middle of New York City, or a place like Ann Arbor, which has a lot more open parks and green spaces. There's nature everywhere, and all of those organisms contribute to the ecosystem, no matter how big or small, no matter how rare or common. So really getting people out in nature and seeing what's all around them is an important part of the City Nature Challenge. So here are just a few examples from Washtenaw County and beyond. You can see that the Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti Parks and Recreation have documented everything from flocks to fledgling owls right here in our own backyard. And if you go a little bit outside of Washtenaw County and check out a more urban environment like Detroit, you can see here that there's actually abundant wildlife there as well. This is one of my favorite naturalist accounts on Instagram, Feral Detroit. You can see a common loon swimming right there in the Detroit River. Pretty incredible. So the second reason that we have the City Nature Challenge is to connect people to one another. So whether you are going out to your local parks and green spaces with your friends and family, or connecting with the iNaturalist community online, this is a great way to get people inspired about biodiversity in their area and explore new areas. So in addition to just going out and bioblitzing with the people you're closest to, you can also connect with your community on iNaturalist, as well as attend our virtual ID parties, which are happening during that observation period. So you can see here on the right a screenshot from our ID parties last year. Essentially, we sit down together, maybe with some subject matter experts from Natural Areas Preservation, from the university, and try to identify those observations from the City Nature Challenge. We share our favorite memories, the things that stumped us, and try to get to the bottom of it so they can all count towards our team total. One of the best places to connect to folks through the City Nature Challenge is on the Ann Arbor Washtenaw County project page. So this is where all of our observations will end up, and it's also kind of the social network for the project. So I checked the page this morning. Our membership has gone up by about 5 people, so folks are signing on and joining in. You can help other people in our area identify their photographs, their observations, and you can also post comments and interact with other folks in the community. But if you don't live in Washtenaw County, that's okay. Chances are, with as much as the City Nature Challenge has expanded, your city is probably on the list. And the City Nature Challenge website has both an interactive map where you can try to find the city closest to you, or you can join the global project page, regardless of whether or not your city is participating. So definitely check that out. and Justin just popped the link to the city list in the chat. Then, of course, there is the data component of the City Nature Challenge. So all of the information that we collect during the City Nature Challenge will benefit scientific research and local decision making. So observations from the City Nature Challenge become research grade in iNaturalist when at least 2 people can agree that the identification is correct. So if I say it's a common dandelion and Justin and Karen both say it's a common dandelion, all of a sudden it becomes a research grade observation, which means it gets funneled into a free, open access biodiversity database called the Global Biodiversity Information Facility. And as you can see by some of the pretty impressive numbers there, this is a lot of observations, many different species and many different habitats all over the world. And in fact, over 1,000 papers have been published just using iNaturalist data. That number goes up significantly when you consider the fact that iNaturalist isn't the only community science platform out there. And we're going to hear a little bit more about what those other opportunities are in a little bit. And in addition to this kind of scientific and academic component, iNaturalist data is also used by cities and other community organizations to make important decisions about management. So Sean Reynolds will talk to us a little bit about the 10,000 Trees project here in Ann Arbor. But in addition to documenting the biodiversity of local trees, iNaturalist is a good way to document invasive species that might be coming into communities and causing problems for local plants and local wildlife. And of course, we want to have fun with the City Nature Challenge. There we go. The City Nature Challenge began, as I mentioned, as a competition between the cities of Los Angeles and San Francisco. And because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the national organizers have encouraged everybody to kind of get a little more collaborative with this. So there's not going to be this heavy competition element this year in the way there has been in the past. But that doesn't mean we can't get a little competitive with ourselves. So these are the statistics from last year's City Nature Challenge for Washtenaw County. We had 1,700 and some odd observations, which were collected by just over 100 observers. So those observations included 515 species. And personally, I think we can beat this. We have the advantage of having a great comprehensive map of all of the parks and green spaces in the county, which I'll get to in a bit. And in addition to sharing this webinar and recording once it comes out with your friends and family, you can help by getting out there, getting the app, and just spending a little time in your own backyard, documenting what's there. So last but not least, an important part of the City Nature Challenge is making science accessible and participatory. So we know that science is for everyone, but that's not always how it works out in practice. There's this idea that you have to, have a degree in biology or a fancy microscope to do science, and that's not actually true. Everyone can contribute to the scientific process, and participatory science really allows us to collect more data and cover more ground than any single individual or research group. Community science efforts like the City Nature Challenge also remove a lot of barriers to participating in science that folks encounter, particularly based on socioeconomics. So with this many people working towards a common goal, new discoveries are bound to happen. And this has been the case since the City Nature Challenge began. There are many different case studies of individuals with no training going out and observing species that were thought to be extinct. So this is happening all over the globe, and it can happen again, and it can happen right here in Washtenaw County. So this leads us to the how-to. How do you do it? How do you make an observation? As I mentioned earlier, iNaturalist is the platform for all the City Nature Challenge data. So you can download the app on your phone, or you can visit the website. You can use this iNaturalist app to take a picture using your phone, or you can use a digital camera and upload it to the website later. But importantly, we want to make sure that it's easy to make identifications. So one way to assure this is to take more than one picture. So if you're taking a picture, say, of a plant, can you take a picture of the flower? What about the leaves? Can you get the top and the bottom? Can you get the stem? If the plant's growing part of a colony in association with many of its own species, can you take a picture of that community? This is ultimately going to help us get those observations to research grade during the identification period. Another important thing, we need the location of each of those observations. And there's a few ways to do this. Most conveniently, perhaps, is the georeferencing in your cell phone. So unless you've changed your settings on your phone, all of the pictures you take are automatically associated with the location that you took them, which means when you use the app, all you need to do is take a picture and your location has been recorded. But if you're taking the offline approach, you can use either a field journal, map, or handheld GPS. You'll just have to manually type in that location later on. But regardless of how you do it, app, camera, field journal, all of those photos and all of their identifications need to be in iNaturalist by the end of the identification period on May 9th to count. So what counts as an observation? I mentioned living things, plants, animals, but it goes beyond that, of course. Anything that's living, including lichens, algae, insects. It doesn't have to be something that's easily visible with the naked eye. You have a magnifying glass, or if you can just snap a photograph of it. We have folks in the community who have a lot of expertise in these different areas and can get to that identification. Also, once living things count. So as long as it's identifiable, you can take a photo of roadkill or bones or skeletons. And parts of living things that may help you identify a creature in that area, including scats, exoskeletons, moltings, feathers. And I think another important thing to touch on is that it doesn't matter whether your species is native, endemic, invasive, or introduced. So when you're walking into a park or green space and you see a plant, for instance, that you know is invasive, it can be really tempting to just pass it by, right? You want to get to all of those beautiful native wildflowers that I've been seeing so many of on my little nature walks recently. But really, those invasive species are just as important to document as the natives. As I mentioned earlier, having a record of where these are occurring, where they're proliferating, how dense or expansive they are is ultimately going to help park managers remove those before they become a real problem. So no matter how big, how small, how common, or how rare, your observations count. But of course, there are a few things that don't count. Houseplants, domestic animals. I'm sure your pets are the absolute cutest, but unfortunately, they're not going to count for the City Nature Challenge. Also, spare people, they will also not count for the City Nature Challenge, although we are arguably all part of this ecosystem. And the next thing you might be wondering is, where do I go? And the great thing about the City Nature Challenge is that you don't actually have to go anywhere. The City Nature Challenge is all about urban biodiversity. And urban is somewhat loosely defined, right? We don't really have any truly wild spaces here in Washtenaw County, nothing that has been kind of untouched since colonial times. But taking pictures in your own backyard is really the best place to start. And that'll be particularly useful, as you'll find out in a minute, for the 10,000 Trees project. But moving beyond your own backyard, you can document in your neighborhood. You don't have to go very far. You don't have to have a car. You can really just take advantage of the great opportunities in your own area. But if you'd like to step out a little bit further, maybe use this as an opportunity to explore someplace new. Last year's organizer, Kit Howard, put together this fantastic list of Washtenaw County's parks and green spaces. And believe it or not, there are almost 200 of them. You can access this list through the URL or by scanning the QR code on the screen and get to exploring someplace new. But while you're doing it, I encourage you all to also learn a little bit about where you are bioblitzing. It's important to keep in mind that Washtenaw County was established on lands belonging to the Anishinaabeg and Wyandot peoples. And if you haven't explored this fantastic website, Native Land, definitely check out the QR code, check out the web browser. Once again, we know that almost all property in the United States, including the University of Michigan, is standing on lands that were stolen from indigenous peoples. So please keep this in mind while you're out there exploring and bioblitzing. Now, I'll just go ahead and walk through a quick demo of what you will see when you unlock the iNaturalist app before we turn it over to our special speakers. But this is an example from the ISO version. Android's going to be very similar. But when you open the app, you will pull up your this kind of home page. Obviously, the museum has these other observations, so you can see things that we've uploaded in the past. But by clicking the observe icon on the bottom of your app, you will be taken to a screen that prompts you of how you'd like to record your observation. So as I mentioned, the camera is a great option. You can also upload a photo directly from your phone, or you can record a sound using your cell phone's microphone. And just for demonstration purposes, I decided to take a photo of this lovely yellow flower. And once you are finished taking that photograph, you're going to have a couple options here. You can take additional photos, which we highly recommend. You can also use the app to help you identify what you saw. So before we do that, I'd like to draw your attention to the items below the notes section. So as I mentioned earlier, the phone's automatically going to record the location of where you took your photograph. It's going to record the date and time, and you'll have an option to adjust the geoprivacy settings. So if you would prefer to have a little bit of a buffer, if you're taking pictures in your yard and you don't necessarily want everyone to know exactly where you live, you can adjust these geoprivacy settings. Something else that's really cool that the app does, if that organism that you're taking a picture of is a threatened or endangered species, it automatically adds a buffer around it. So that's just to protect that species from poachers or from anyone that might cause it harm in some other way. So after clicking what did you see, you'll have the opportunity to explore some potential identifications. In this case, the app's telling me that they're pretty sure my pretty little yellow flower is a dandelion. But there's a couple different species of dandelion in this area. By clicking on the information button, I can explore the different species they suggest. I can learn about the range, get some insights on how you might identify that particular species, and look at pictures that others have taken. If I decide that, yes, this does indeed look like the common dandelion, I can select that and then hit the share button. Bada boom, bada bing. I've got an iNaturalist observation. And you can actually do the same thing on the website. So if you log in under your account, you can use the drop-down menu on the right-hand side under your profile picture to add an observation. So this is going to prompt you to upload a photograph from your phone, or excuse me, from your computer. Once you do so, you'll have the opportunity to manually enter all of the same data you would on the app. So you can search for the species. It'll still give you some recommendations. You can manually input your location, your time, and add any notes that you may want to associated with that observation. So that brings us to the identification period. So what comes next? After we've all gone out and taken these photos and documented wildlife and plants and animals in our community, we've got this identification period where we hone in and help one another get those IDs to research grade. So this is a screenshot of last year's project page, and I'm using this because we don't have anything on our current project page. But when you go to that project page, you'll be able to select Identify down here, and it'll take us to any of the observations that haven't been identified yet for Washtenaw County. So these are some from last year that never got their identifications. And if you click on an individual identification, you'll see that it gets flagged with this little yellow icon that says Needs ID, which is where I can come in and try to help. So it looks like Owl Lover saw that this was a plant, which is a great place to start. But perhaps I could take it a step further. This looks like some species of forget-me-not, so I could search for that common name or perhaps that genus and help get us a little closer to research grade. As you are looking at different opportunities to get out in nature in your community, these community partners are excellent resources for you to help support your Bioblitz. You can visit the social media accounts or websites of the Parks and Recreation for the City of Ann Arbor and City of Ypsilanti. They can tell you what kind of amenities are available at the parks and green spaces that they oversee. Natural Areas Preservation, also a great place to look. They're doing some controlled burns on their properties right now, so you might want to check in with them before you go out and about. But we really look forward to coming together as a community and documenting biodiversity here in Washtenaw County. Hopefully I'll see some of you out there with your masks and your cell phones on April 30th. We at the museum will be out and about, and we hope you will be too. So I'd like to stop sharing here and open it up to any questions before we move on to our speakers. I saw one question in the chat. When a photo is uploaded into iNaturalist, do we need to tag the photo to the City Nature Challenge project? So thanks to that georeferencing, it's automatically going to be counted, as Justin pointed out. One of the advantages of that project page is to be able to help one another identify observations. But your observations will count as soon as you geotag that to Washtenaw County. Do we have any other questions?
Feel free to raise your hand or type it in the chat.
How do you upload a photo? So I'm actually going to go back to that. So from the website, if you go to iNaturalist.org and log into your account, the drop-down menu that's available over your icon will allow you to add observations. So this is where you can upload photos from your computer. If you have saved them there, or if you've taken them on, say, a digital camera that isn't part of your cell phone, you can click Add Observation. It's going to prompt you to upload something from your computer, and then you can add in all of the information that you would have kind of been able to automatically pull out had you done it on the app. We have another question. Can we still use the app and ID things outside of the observation time? Absolutely. So that's a really important point. The City Nature Challenge is kind of this, you know, fun race to get people involved. But the iNaturalist app is available for you to use anytime, anywhere. And you can still identify things for your community or beyond. You can pull up the iNaturalist and look at what needs to be identified, you know, in Guam, for example, and help out other folks around the globe. In order for an observation to count towards the City Nature Challenge, though, it needs to be identified by May 9th. Great question. Another question. Well, feel free to, if you think of a question, feel free to pop it in the chat. We can continue to address those as they come up. But in the interest of time, I think we will turn it over to our first guest speaker, Sean Reynolds. He's going to chat with us a little bit about the City of Ann Arbor's 10,000 Trees project. And spoiler alert, every time you take an observation for the City Nature Challenge, it's going to double count towards Sean project if it's a tree.
Yeah, that's right. Let me share my screen really here, quick. All right. Well, thank you, Jade, for that. And yeah, as Jade just mentioned, we are going to be holding a Bioblitz ourselves, but ours will. So we're holding the Bioblitz from April 25th tomorrow through May 2nd, so for 1 week. But it will also be for, you know, the Trees of Ann Arbor project will be accepting observations from now until whenever. So yeah, any observations that you put in or that you take of trees within Ann Arbor will go to our project, and that includes any that you do through the City Nature Challenge. My name is Sean Reynolds. I am the Urban Trees Initiative Coordinator with the Office of Sustainability and Innovations with the City of Ann Arbor. So I am running our 10,000 Trees initiative. So this is a part of our A20 plan. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the A20 plan, this is a plan to achieve carbon neutrality in our community by the year 2030. So we have 3 overarching values for this plan, which are equity, sustainability, and transformation. And then we have 7 main strategies, and those include things like powering our electrical grid with renewable energy, switching to electric appliances, reducing the amount of travel that we do in vehicles that burn natural gas, changing the way that we use and reuse materials, enhancing resilience of our city and our people, and then also just kind of a catch-all category. So the 10,000 Trees initiative is actually a part of the 6th strategy there, the enhance the resilience of our people and our place. So this is a screenshot of the A20 plan itself, and I just wanted to draw a few things, draw your attention to a few things on this page. So again, this is under the resilience strategy. So we know that trees provide a lot of different benefits to us in our cities and our communities. But one of the main benefits that they provide is resilience. So trees can help us to reduce flooding and reduce air pollution and a whole bunch of other things that help to make our city more resilient to future climate change effects and pollution and things of that nature. I do also want to point out the equity impacts box. So we are focused on equitable enhancement of tree canopy. So there are a lot of areas of the city that have lower tree canopy than other areas. And unfortunately, the areas that tend to have lower tree canopy also tend to be areas that have higher rates of mental illness and lung disease and neurotoxic exposure from pollutants, and also lower income levels and things like that. So we really want to be putting trees into those areas to get the tree canopy up in those places, but also because those are the areas where trees are most needed. All the benefits that we see from trees are really needed in those neighborhoods. So one of the indicators of success that was put into the A20 plan was to have 10,000 new trees planted on private property in the city by 2030. So that's really where the 10,000 Trees initiative came from. So we are focused on getting trees planted on private property. We have different ways that we're doing that. We have our free tree giveaway program, which actually next weekend for Arbor Day, we're holding one of these. All of the trees have been claimed already, so we're giving out over 1,000 trees, which is really exciting to be getting out that many trees already. And then we're also working on developing a few other programs. Our branch out group buy program will allow folks to buy trees at discounted prices and come together as groups of neighbors and friends to do that. And then our Back to Our Roots community tree planting program will involve volunteer plantings on properties. So groups can come together and work to plant the trees together. But we can't just plant trees and then move on and say our job is done. We need to make sure that these trees are cared for and that we continue to see them thrive and that they grow and continue to provide the benefits that we know that they can. So in order to do that, we need to do outreach. We need to educate folks about trees, and we also need to focus on the management of the trees that we have. So the 10,000 Trees initiative has a few ways that we're doing this. So these are just some examples for outreach and education. We actually have a virtual tree tour that is up on our webpage, which is a2gov.org/10ktorees. And so this is a video that you can actually watch where I walk you through some of the species that we have here in our city, some identification tips, some fun facts about them, and then show you an example of the tree growing right here in Ann Arbor. We also have developed some educational materials that we distribute with every tree that we give out through the program to help make sure that folks are aware of the species that they're getting and the best way to plant it and best place to plant it and how to care for it and make sure that it survives and does well. We are developing some workshops that will be on things from like tree ID and tree care. We also are working on developing a tree tracker app, which will allow folks to get trees through our program to keep track of those trees and tell us how they're doing. And also we'll be able to provide watering alerts and care alerts and things like that. And then of course we have the Trees of Ann Arbor Bioblitz, which is what I want to focus on today. So this Bioblitz really covers all three of these things: outreach, education, and management goals. So how does it do that? Well, it is community science, which is obviously what Jade has been talking about this morning. And the Bioblitz uses our community and gets the community involved to get an idea of what trees we have here in our city. So how will this Bioblitz help us with doing tree outreach? Well, first of all, Bioblitz is our community-driven and community-focused. So really anyone can participate in the Bioblitz. Children can participate. And you don't have to be an expert in trees. You don't have to know tree ID at all. You don't have to have ever really looked at a tree beyond, oh, there's a tree there before. You can have any level of experience with trees in order to participate in the Bioblitz. So it's just a really great way for us to get folks to notice the trees that are around them and get involved with trees in the community. It's also a great way to get people to connect with nature. So if you are going out and taking observations, taking pictures of all of the trees in the city, and if you are also participating in the City Nature Challenge, you can do obviously more than just trees. So you can, you're getting outside, you're getting out into nature and seeing all of the different species, plant, animal, otherwise that we have here in our city and the surrounding area. It also helps with education. So it's a really great tool for learning tree identification. You go out, you make an observation of a tree, you don't know what it is. Then the app itself, as Jade mentioned, can suggest identifications of that tree, which is a great way to kind of narrow it down. You take a picture and the app can go, okay, well, this is definitely a maple of some kind. And then the online community of naturalists during the identification phase of the City Nature Challenge or outside of it, I'll be on there monitoring it and suggesting identifications for trees. So it's a really great way to kind of narrow that down. And then you can go, okay, well now this tree that I took a picture of that I had no idea what it was when I did that, I now have an idea that it is a red maple, for example. So it's a really great way to learn that tree ID, which is a really important step in getting kind of involved with trees and getting excited about trees. So if you know what a tree is, you're a lot more likely to care about it and want to pay attention to it and make sure that it does well. So it's a great tool for us to get folks involved with trees. But then obviously we also get a lot out of it in terms of being able to help us manage our trees that we have here in the city. So the Bioblitz can help to contribute to our inventory that we have of our city's trees. So this is a screenshot of our Ann Arbor Natural Features Inventory. So this inventory currently has a lot of different things, but one of the layers it has is our publicly managed trees. So this is all of our trees along the right-of-ways, as well as many of the trees in our park. So you can see in the middle of this image, a small city park has all of the trees inventoried, but not all of our parks are fully inventoried. So the Bioblitz will help to give us more data points and more trees for our inventory. So you can see over here in the residential area, there are a lot of trees that you can see kind of the shadows and forms of in these on these private properties that have not been inventoried. We don't know what trees are on the private properties of the city. So these observations that we get through the Bioblitz can actually help us to get an idea of what trees we have on the private property. And also if you go out into a park, it may be a park where we don't know all the trees that we have there either. So you could help with that. It also helps us to understand the benefits that we're getting from our urban tree canopy. So as I mentioned earlier, trees provide a lot of different benefits. Just some of them are listed here in this graphic from the Nature Conservancy. They help to remove pollutants from our air and our water. They help to cool our city streets by providing shade. And that can actually also help to reduce energy usage if you have a shade tree over your building. And then during the summer months, you don't have to use as much energy to cool your house because you're getting some of that cooling benefit from the shade tree. It also helps with improving health, with protecting biodiversity in the city, allowing giving habitat for a whole bunch of different species and pollinators and things of that nature. It can help with managing stormwater, preventing flooding. It increases property values, and it also can just help with mental health. Sorry if you're hearing other noises. My cat is going crazy at the moment, including trying to knock over my computer. Sorry about that. Sorry, go back. By getting an idea of what trees we have in the city through the Bioblitz and kind of inventorying our trees, we can get an idea of the overall benefits that we're seeing from our urban tree canopy. If we, get an idea of the species that we have in the city and everything, different species provide different benefits, so then we get a more focused idea of the benefits that we're seeing. And then it can also help to inform our planting decisions. So this graph shows, I believe in 2015, the distribution of species in our publicly managed trees. So you can see that 35% of our publicly managed trees are maples, or were maples in 2015. By having a better idea of the species that we have in our city and including some of the privately managed trees in the city, we can get a better idea of what this distribution looks like. And that can really help us with determining what species we want to plant. So obviously we want to have a very diverse urban tree canopy. I'm sure many of you are aware of the emerald ash borer, the insect that unfortunately has devastated many of the ash populations in our country, and especially here in Ann Arbor. And we had quite a few ash trees in the canopy that were wiped out by the emerald ash borer. And so by having a more diverse canopy, we can help to prevent such devastating things like that from happening again. So heaven forbid, if some pest or disease were to come through that killed maples, if we really do have 35% of our canopy is maples, then obviously we would be losing quite a few trees from that. So we want to make sure that our species diversity is high and we have a lot of different species, so that if anyone is affected by a pest or a disease, then we don't have as devastating of effect as the emerald ash borer. So the Bioblitz really just helps us to get an idea of the trees that we have in our city. Obviously, if you're going to manage a resource, it really helps to know what you have, what those resources are. So by getting a better idea of that through using community science, we can better manage the trees that we have here in Ann Arbor. So thank you. Again, my name is Sean Reynolds. You can contact me with any questions. My email, which is listed here, it's sreynolds@a2gov.org. You can also go to our website. Again, that is a2gov.org/10ktrees to get more information about the initiative in general, and also specifically about the Trees of Ann Arbor project, the Bioblitz is happening, and a link also on there to the City Nature Challenge. So again, our Bioblitz is happening from tomorrow, April 25th through May 2nd. So you can get out there and take observations on iNaturalist of all the trees that you can find in your backyard, on your street, in your park, wherever here in Ann Arbor. And those will all go towards our Bioblitz. And if you join the City Nature Challenge project, it'll go towards that as well for those few days at the end where they overlap. So thank you again. And I hope that you all have a great time getting out there and getting observations of trees for iNaturalist.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate how you pointed out that the power of iNaturalist and the City Nature Challenge and other Bioblitzes like the one you're hosting is that you don't have to have any prior knowledge at all. You don't have to carry around big guidebooks or go through, flow charts. It's really simple and really straightforward. We did have one question pop up here in the chat. Is there any concern about duplicating data if we report a tree or other plant in a public space that someone else has already reported? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's definitely a possibility of that happening, especially with those trees that are already in that that inventory we have of the street trees. But that inventory also was done a few years ago, and so things may have changed. Obviously the species of a tree won't change, but if that tree died and another tree has been put in its place, then it might actually change to a new tree and things of that nature. So it is helpful for us to just get kind of updated data on some of these trees that have already been inventoried. And even if it is the same exact tree, I mean, obviously it has grown some, but if it is the same tree that was there, that just helps us to confirm, that species, that tree is still there and in that spot. So it's definitely helpful to have confirmation even of the public way owned trees.
I also have a question. There's a lot of concern that it's not enough to just plant more trees. It's really important to make sure that those trees go into a habitat, a soil type, or where they're getting the proper amount of sunlight that they're going to thrive. Mm-hmm. So how is that need for putting the right tree in the right place being addressed through this effort?
Yeah, great question. So we are, again, we have as a whole bunch of different educational materials. And so we are trying to get out that information as best as we can to folks before they register for trees through us. So we have tree information cards available on our website. You can see the 4 species that we're giving out for Arbor Day. We have those up already. And those just give some information about the space and care requirements of those trees. So, kind of if they want full sun or partial sun, the size that they'll be. So, if you get a red oak, you can't plant that underneath of an overhead utility. You can't plant it, 10 feet next to your house because it's going to grow up to be too large and get in the way and conflict with the utility or your building. So we are providing that information to folks so that they have it ahead of time and they can kind of look at that and decide, which species is going to be the best fit for their needs. And through our group buy program, especially, we'll be able to work with folks one-on-one to decide which species they should get through that program, that discount program. So we're going to really try and focus on getting the trees in the right places as much as we can.
That's awesome. Are there any other questions for Sean? Feel free to raise your hand or add them in the chat. The Q&A window is also open if you'd prefer to keep that question a little more private. Okay, it looks like we have another question here coming in. Are you only concerned with trees that are part of the residential canopy, or is there an interest in trees within the park system as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it is any tree in Ann Arbor. We obviously the ones that are on residential property, involving our community and getting folks that live on that property to tell us what trees they have is the only way we can really get an idea of what trees are there. So we really want to encourage folks to get out into their own yards. That's also, it's easier to go into your own yard than to head out to a park or whatever, especially during the pandemic, if you may not want to get out into more public spaces. But the trees that are in the public spaces are really helpful also. Again, some of our parks have not been fully inventoried, and even those that have, and the ones along the street that have been inventoried, it can help us to update that inventory and really keep track of those trees. So we really just encourage you to get out and take observations of whatever trees you can find wherever they are.
Brilliant. We got another question coming through. Is there a separate project page through iNaturalist to report the trees for this Bioblitz as opposed to the City Nature Challenge page? And if you want to take that, I will get the links ready to send out to the participants.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, so we do have our own separate page. It is called the Trees of Ann Arbor. And that is a project that is open not just during the Bioblitz, but for now until whatever. And so basically it is set up so that any observation that is made by someone who is part of the project of a tree in Ann Arbor will go into the Trees of Ann Arbor project. So you don't have to do anything special to get it added. It will just go automatically into there as long as you are a part of the project. And if you join our project and the City Nature Challenge project, then those observations will go into both during that observation period. So.
And to reiterate something that came up earlier, the great thing about having all of your observations geotagged is that they'll count towards these projects automatically. But joining the project page is a great way to see the progress that's being made, that connect to your neighbors, see who else is participating, and perhaps most importantly, help out with those identifications that we may not have gotten yet. So I just put both links in the chat to the City Nature Challenge and Trees of Ann Arbor pages.
Great, thanks.
Okay, well, I guess we can go ahead and move on to our next speaker. But once again, if you have any questions for Sean, please go ahead and put those in the chat and we will circle back to them. In the meantime, I would like to introduce Dr. Karen Alofs, who's going to actually take us beyond iNaturalist, beyond the City Nature Challenge, and introduce us to the wide world of community science that exists both here in Michigan and elsewhere.
Great, thank you very much, Jade. And just a nod, you're seeing my screen, all right? Great. All right, so we've talked a bit about iNaturalist and its use around the world and in Ann Arbor, but I'd like to talk about just the power of community science and a few other examples of community science that have been around and are online. Community science is really useful for scientists because it allows us to examine patterns across really large regions and long time periods. And a couple of examples of that include the Audubon Society's Christmas bird count, which has been around for more than 120 years now. And then projects like Nature's Notebook, which aims to track phenology, or that is patterns of timing of natural organisms, which can be really helpful for interpreting the impacts of climate change. So as an example, here are observations of flowers that provide nectar and the timing of when those flowers have opened across different regions. And these can be matched with observations of pollinators or nectar using birds and insects. And the UMNH has a great website, which Jade or Justin will be posting to the chat. And this website has links to a number of different online citizen science projects that you can get involved in just through your computer or phone. And at the top of this page is a project that I'll be talking about today, our project on angling for data for Michigan fishes. But it also includes a number of other projects, and many of these are hosted on a platform called Zooniverse, which I'd like to tell you a little bit about. So Galaxy Zoo, the Galaxy Zoo project was really the inspiration for Zooniverse. This project started in 2007 and asked community scientists to look at images of millions of galaxies and identify things like spirals and which directions the arms of those spirals were moving in. And this was information that scientists could then use to prioritize where to look with really powerful telescopes, which have very limited time available for scientists. And they were really surprised by the amazing response that they got to this project. Within 24 hours of launching, they received 70,000 classifications an hour. And in the end, this project had more than 50 million classifications from 150,000 users or volunteers. And this project led to many different scientific discoveries and published papers. And from this, the Zooniverse was born, which was a platform to host a variety of different projects using similar techniques and across different research areas. And Zooniverse recently celebrated 10 years. It now has more than 2 million registered volunteers on the site and has had hundreds of projects and users come from across the world. This image is just where the first million users or volunteers in Zooniverse came from. So I'll tell you a little bit about a few projects. So this was a Zooniverse project called Penguin Watch, which used photographs from 50 cameras that were focused on nesting areas for penguin colonies around the Southern Ocean. And this project asked volunteers to tag adult penguins, chicks, and eggs. This is, of course, an extreme example. You wouldn't have to classify all of these individuals, but really an awesome image to see. Here's another project, Michigan Zoom In, which is a project that's gone through several different seasons and has asked volunteers to identify animals in photographs from the UP, from the University of Michigan Biological Station in Northern Michigan, from near Saginaw and in Detroit. And here are just a few of the images from this project. So we have a pine marten, one of the more rare mammals here, porcupine, skunk, deer, and black bear. So you might ask, why with machine learning and artificial intelligence would we rely on humans to classify images? And this cartoon from XKCD is a good example of part of the problem that we're dealing with. So training computers to recognize images, it still takes an enormous amount of time and often needs many ground truthed images that are classified by experts in order for the computer to be able to identify what is a correct answer and to improve its accuracy in learning. So here I'm showing you an image of a cancer cell from a project called Etch-A-Cell. And Etch-A-Cell asked volunteers to basically outline the nucleus of this cell. And here from an electron micrograph, two images on the left where that outline of the nucleus was performed by an expert in the field. And on the right is basically the consensus or the agreement between 5 volunteers, community scientists classifying the nucleus of that cell. So this illustrates one of the real advantages of Zooniverse. By having multiple volunteers make classifications, we can compare their answers and look for an agreement. And this helps us to get high accuracy and to identify any potential errors or disagreements. So I mentioned already our project, which is called Changes, and we're interested in digitizing historical lake survey data. We know that fishes in Michigan and around the globe are facing a number of different environmental stressors, including pollution, eutrophication, habitat destruction, overfishing, invasive species like zebra mussels or quagga mussels in the Great Lakes, and climate change. And we're interested in examining the impacts of these factors on fish populations over time. And we're starting by looking at, for example, these 3 species that are adapted to different water temperatures in Michigan. So on the left, we have largemouth bass, which is a warm water adapted species. And you can see in these larger gray circles where it's abundant in Michigan, and it's expected to get more abundant as climate continues to warm. On the right, we have 2 fishes that are adapted to cool and cold waters. Walleye, which has been declining in abundance in lakes across the Great Lakes region and is adapted to cooler waters. And Cisco, which is a native fish that's threatened in the state of Michigan and is adapted to cold waters. And as you can see, it's much less common across the state, although it used to be more common. So in order to look at these kinds of trends, and to associate them with environmental change, we formed a really interdisciplinary research team that's been working collaboratively and includes a number of students, postdoc, Hernan Lopez Fernandez from the University of Michigan Museum of Zoology and AEB, Andrea Thamer from the School of Information, Justin Schell from the Shapiro Design Lab at the library, Randy Singer, who's the collection manager for fishes at the University of Michigan Museum of Zoology, and Kevin Worley from the Institute for Fisheries Research, which is a collaborative that's been in existence since the 1930s, a collaborative between the University of Michigan and the Department of Natural Resources. So the Institute for Fisheries Research has an enormous amount of historical data that we're using and we have more than 800 Zooniverse volunteers who have helped us to start digitize that data. So what types of data are we looking at? So at IFR, the Institute for Fisheries Research, they have historical records from lake surveys that have occurred across Michigan over the last century. And these records are mostly on index cards, and we've scanned more than 40,000 cards with historical data. So these data include things like lake locations and conditions, the number of fish of different species that were captured during surveys, aquatic plant density and location, information about lake temperature at different depths and oxygen concentrations at different depths, information about the length of fish of different ages and species, and information about the types of gear that were used in the surveys. And many of these cards are typed, as you can see, but some are handwritten and very difficult for a computer to interpret. I mentioned that I mentioned gear, and fish can be sampled in a number of different ways, and some are more effective for some species than other species, and in some habitats than in other habitats. So here we see pictures of, for example, a pike net on the left-hand side, or a seine in the center, or a gill net on the right. And these historical records allow us to capture the details of what gear was used, where it was used, and for how long it was used in the survey. And this allows us to compare the abundance of fish in these records across surveys. Another important thing that's on these cards is the length at different ages. So this allows us to compare how environmental change might impact fish growth. So cards like this one shown on the left show the length of a fish at each age. And how do we estimate a fish age? So for this, biologists use hard structures from fish. So these might be scales or otoliths, which are fish ear bones. So here's a cross section of a fish ear bone that shows the rings that are laid down annually, much like a tree. We can count these rings in order to establish the age of a fish. We can measure the length of that fish, and then we can make plots like this in order to examine patterns of growth across time or across lakes. So there are also a number of specimens, thousands of specimens from these historical surveys that are kept at the University of Michigan zoology collections. And we can associate these specimens with the environmental data from the surveys in which they were captured. And pairing the environmental data from these cards with the specimens can help us to understand how environmental conditions influence all kinds of aspects of these fish, including their diet, body shape, reproduction, DNA, or their vulnerability to parasites, for example. So how can you get involved in our project? By navigating to Zooniverse, for example, through the UMNH's website that I showed you earlier, you can find our project, which is Angling for Data on Michigan Fishes. This is our homepage, and if you scroll down under Getting Started, we have several different workflows. So each of these workflows captures different types of data, some of which I've mentioned, data on the locations, the dates, the collectors, or that have gathered this data throughout the century. Information on the sampling gear and the effort used in each survey, information on fish size at different ages, etc. Once you select one of these workflows, then we have a number of tutorials that come up that will guide you through what information we're interested in capturing on a card. And you can also talk to us at the end of a classification and mention anything that might have been strange or something you had a question about. So with that, I'd like to take any questions that you might have. Thanks.
Thanks, Karen. While we're waiting for other folks to add their questions in the chat and Q&A, I have a quick question. We've talked about like using like the iNaturalist app and kind of mobile compatibility. Can people do your project on their cell phone?
Yes, they can. Some of those workflows are easier to do on a cell phone than others. And that's true for a lot of Zooniverse projects. Some are really easy to do on a cell phone and others are a lot simpler if you have a computer.
Excellent. Do you have any other questions or comments about angling for data, Zooniverse, or either of the Bioblitzes that are coming up next week? For folks in the audience, I'm curious, how many folks have participated in the City Nature Challenge or another community science project in the past? Do you have any community science veterans here in the audience? Oh, so we've got some folks who volunteer for Natural Areas Preservation salamander surveys. Yeah, I have not had a chance to do that yet, but I have heard wonderful things about their survey programs, inspiring lots of different folks to get out and get more acquainted with their wildlife neighbors. I'm excited to see how many folks are on this call that are new to community science. That's fantastic. Well, I guess if we don't have any questions, we could always end a few minutes early. But I'm just going to pop this slide back up on the screen for a second to remind everyone that we've got the Trees of Ann Arbor Bioblitz kicking off on the 25th of April, and that overlaps with the observation period for the City Nature Challenge, which starts on April 30th. And stay tuned for some information about those identification parties. Those will happen through Zoom, and they're not going to be webinars, they're actually going to be meetings. So unrecorded, more kind of casual, we'll have a chance to share our experiences during the City Nature Challenge and make some of those identifications for our City Nature Challenge team. So those can be found, the registrations are already live on the Museum City Nature Challenge website. So we'll pop a link in the chat and hope to see some of you there. Happy Bioblitzing, everyone, and thanks for coming out. Thank you, Sean, thank you, Karen, for sharing your projects with us. And personally, I cannot wait to get involved in more types of community science. Thanks everyone for your time.